Hello, I'm Nicole Killian in Washington, and welcome to America Decide. Israel has confirmed that it carried out an airstrike on a Gaza refugee camp. The IDF says the strikes killed a Hamas military commander and neutralized at least 50 other terrorists. Palestinian officials say that at least 50 people were killed and over 150 were wounded at the camp, which is located in northern Gaza. CBS News has not independently confirmed those figures. CBS News' Tina Kraus joins us now from Tel Aviv, Israel. Tina, thanks so much for being with us. Tell us about this refugee camp and this area of Gaza that was hit.
Nicole, this area is the largest refugee camp in Gaza. This is where people had chosen to stay. They had been warned to get out of the area, but only about 800,000 Palestinians have reportedly fled south. So some of them are staying within. A lot of the women and children have fled south, but a lot of the men are still there. However, the pictures we are seeing in the rubble from this airstrike show women and children being pulled out, people pulling out bodies with their bare hands. One man saying, "We are literally filling bags with children. What are we doing?" So the pain, the anger, the heartbreak from the Palestinian side is palpable tonight. It is horrible over there, and they are trying to understand why this has to happen. Israel saying it has to happen because Hamas must be destroyed, whatever it takes.
Yeah, very difficult images to watch. And to that point, Tina, what are the feelings on the ground in Israel as we're seeing increased barrages of rocket fire from Gaza?
We felt a lot of that today. There is certainly a great deal of anxiety here while people have been out on the streets holding signs with the pictures of the hostages and vowing to bring them home. They are being pulled into shelters when the air raid sirens sound. And we didn't hear a lot of air raid sirens, but we did hear a lot of rocket fire today, the interceptions by the Iron Dome missile defense system up in the air. Big explosions here in Tel Aviv. In fact, I was in my room for one of them, and the glass on my desk completely started shaking. So that's the biggest we have heard here in Tel Aviv. Just to tell you that Hamas is firing more and more rockets into Israel and deep into Israel, because the ones we heard being intercepted with those loud explosions were headed further north.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that he will not agree to a ceasefire with Hamas. Do we know how much longer Israel's military operations will continue?
Well, we know that Netanyahu has said it'll take however long it needs to take. But to answer your question, I know there have been fierce battles today, and the IDF has admitted that and said that they lost 2 Israeli soldiers overnight in fighting. Hamas saying they were locked in fierce firefights. Israel saying it was definitely deeper into Gaza, but not revealing actually the nature of the battle. But Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said when that Israeli soldier was released overnight a day ago that this is proof the ground operation is working. And he believes, while there's no certainty Hamas could release more hostages, he believes there's a better chance if the IDF keeps up the pressure on the militants.
And what more can you tell us about the humanitarian situation? Has more aid been able to get in?
A little bit. The White House said today that 66 trucks got into Gaza over the last 24 hours. So there is some moving in, but again, a trickle. The UN very frustrated, saying it's nowhere near what's needed. They're negotiating with Israel, the U.S. is, to try to also get fuel into Gaza because the hospitals and Palestinians are needing this fuel. They're desperate for it. But Israel, it's a sticking point. They don't want this fuel going in. They're afraid it'll turn up in the hands of Hamas, and it could be used in their rockets. So the UN Secretary General just saying that civilians are bearing the brunt of this conflict, and he said he's dismayed at reports that up to 2/3 of the Palestinian victims have been women and children. Nicole?
Tina Kraus, we thank you so much for your reporting tonight. Stay safe. We're joined now by CBS News Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes. And Nancy, has there been any response yet from the White House to this latest Israeli strike?
There has not, Nicole, and that's not unusual. Since the beginning of this conflict, the White House has been careful not to weigh in on particular strikes, particular strategies as they are unfolding, because there can often be so much confusion on the ground about exactly what has taken place, who was the aggressor, and they don't want to appear to be criticizing an ally in real time. So the spokesman for the National Security Council, John Kirby, was asked about this strike at the White House briefing today, and he declined to comment, saying that it's all too new and they're not ready to weigh in yet.
That being said, Nancy, I mean, what is the administration's position with respect to a ceasefire? As we know, many have been calling for one, but it seems that isn't happening anytime soon.
Right. The White House has made it very clear, Nicole, that they do not support the notion of a ceasefire. They say that that would only enable Hamas to buy time to reconstitute itself, to resupply itself, to get stronger, essentially. So they do not support the notion of a ceasefire. They have been open to the notion of a humanitarian pause, basically a temporary lull in aggression so that more humanitarian aid can get into Gaza. That's been very slow going. And it appears that over the past couple of weeks, they've been more or less satisfied with the pace of Israel's strikes, even though there's nowhere near as much humanitarian aid getting in on a daily basis, 66 trucks today, we're told, as the White House would like to see. But when it comes to a ceasefire, we've had no indication that the White House is going to change its mind on that.